So, as we all know by now, Football Manager 25 isn't coming out, and the next FM game probably won't be out now until, fingers crossed, towards the end of this year. But at this point, who really knows? But either way, we're stuck with FM24, and you guys, like me I imagine, are looking for ways to extend the life of this game as much as possible. So today, I'm going to be giving you 5 different long-term save ideas that you can take, give a go, and hopefully make FM a more enjoyable experience for however long we've got left to play it. Now this will less be about teams to manage and teams to rebuild. We've done plenty of videos on that kind of stuff, but instead focusing on ideas of saves that you can run with and then kind of adapt to how you want to play your FM game. And I'm going to kick off the first idea, which is probably the most accessible to most people, the one that I think most people would look at and say, yeah, you know what, I could give that a go, whereas some of the others are a little bit more extreme. But this one is all about English football. Why England? Well, on your standard Football Manager game without any mods, England is the game with the most leagues available. It goes the deepest than any other nation in the game of Football Manager, and in fact you can go down to the Vanarama National League North/South, which I believe, if my maths is correct, is the 6th tier of English football. You can start that far down and work your way up, and that is the idea of this save. What I want you to do is try and take a team from the lowest level of English football to the Champions League. It's not maybe a crazy thing that you've never heard of, but like I say, this is probably the most accessible save for someone looking for a long-term save. We're not talking 3-4 seasons here. This might be a 10, 15, 20 season job, depending on how into it you get. Now, you could go onto the Vanarama National League North or South and pick a team that you like, one that's local to you, or if you want a real challenge to make it even harder, go to the season preview. When you start up your save, you'll get an idea of where each team is predicted to come. If you hovered over South Shields, it would say predicted 7th place in their league or whatever it might be, but go to the team that is predicted the bottom place. In this case, it's Leamington, a team that are expected to finish rock bottom of the Vanarama National League North with 300 to 1 odds of winning the title. It just adds that extra level of challenge to the save, whereas if you went Scunthorpe, you probably get promoted in year 1, and before you know it, you're already making your way in your save through the leagues. But starting off with a team expected to basically go out of existence in FM, if you did end up getting relegated with them because you can't go down the level, what your FM game would do would cause you to leave that job. So yeah, if you're looking for a challenge and save, this is the way you want to go. Now, this is the Vanarama National League North, but there is also, of course, the Vanarama National League South, which is the same level, just in a different geography area of the UK. And over there, you've got Enfield Town as the team predicted to finish bottom, so that could be a good idea. You could go and do it in Germany if you wanted. You're not limited to England. You could go to the Free Liga and take a team up from the lowest division in Germany. But of course, England, I've picked that because, 1, it's quite accessible to a lot of people, and 2, it is the deepest any league system goes in Football Manager. Add a bit of challenge, add a bit of time onto a save, and I'm sure you'll fall in love with whatever club you manage. There'll be players that will write their own stories and whatnot, and if you're looking for a long-term save but you don't want to get too crazy or out the box, that can be what you go for. Taking it up a gear though, if managing one team wasn't enough, what about managing 2? In this save idea, what I want you to do is, you might have heard the phrase build a nation in Football Manager, and you're going to do exactly that. When you start up a save, you can choose to manage both a club side and an international side if you want, and that's what I want you to try, to take a club from a nation, let's say Celtic in Scotland, try and dominate with them, but the end goal isn't just getting Celtic to the Champions League or anything like that. It will be to make your nation a World Cup winning side. So in this case with Celtic, you'll be trying to develop Scottish talent to improve the Scottish national team. You want to develop the League of Scotland itself by regularly being in the Champions League, earning more coefficient places, and then earning more money for the other clubs to invest in facilities and produce young players. And the challenge of this is obviously going to be very, very high, depending on who you do this with. If you did it with England, with Brazil, it might not be as challenging. Scotland, of course, will be a challenge. They've never won a World Cup before, but you could ramp it up even more if you wanted to. How about the Faroe Islands, a manageable league in Football Manager? You could try and develop them to a point where their national team has better players, and this is going to take, 20, 30, 40, 50 years in an FM world if you want to dedicate that much time to a save. You take a team from the Faroe Islands, you'd go and try and get them to the top of their division, try and improve them in Europe, develop your facilities, again, in the hopes of bringing through some Faroe Islands national players that you can use to eventually win a national tournament. It's probably one of the hardest things you can do in FM. Anyone that's done a build a nation save with a nation that doesn't usually win things will tell you how hard it is. It's not as easy as it sounds. It takes a long time, but as you can see, you can manage 2 teams at once. In this case, Celtic and Scotland, I can manage both at the same time, and you could do that with any playable nation you want in the game. So that's 2 of our 5 ideas down, but if you are enjoying this up to this point, make sure you smash the like button for us and subscribe for more more, and let us know in the comments what save you're currently running in FM, what's keeping you going between now and whenever that next game is. We want to hear it in the comments, so maybe we can make a future follow-up video about some of the best saves you guys are trying to make. But let's get back to the ideas, and for idea number 3, we are talking about one of, I've done it myself on my own channel with a club called Bilbao, which I'm sure you're all aware of, a team that can only use players from the Basque region, and it had a big focus on the Youth Academy, and that is the challenge that I'm setting you guys, the Youth Academy only challenge. Now there's 2 kind of difficulty levels to this, how you want to do it. The aim of the whole thing will be to win the Champions League with a team that isn't got transfers. You're not allowed to go and sign players. You're basically using players from your Youth Academy, trying to trust the development process and making the best you can out of your youth intakes. Now, depending on who you manage will add to the difficulty of this. Doing it with, say, a Barcelona might not be as hard as doing it with, say, a Nordsjælland, who even with transfers would struggle in Europe, never mind bringing in only academy-only players. It's always a good idea to start with a team that's got a good youth system, like Nordsjælland might do here, or you could go anywhere else that you want, but you can ramp up the difficulty a little bit by changing the rules. There's 2 ways you can do it, either only youth intake players, or you can sign players before they are 18 and try and make them homegrown at the club. So in theory, you could sign a Dutch player at 16, bring him to your side, develop him for a few years, and by the time he's 18 years old, he will show as a homegrown player out here in Norway, and you can get away with it that way. But really, the hard version of this is to do it with only youth academy players. It is super tough to do, but so rewarding because you are bringing through all these players yourself. You'll be doing your best to hang on to them as well. It's not a guarantee that if a star comes through at Nordsjælland, he'll want to stay. You'll have to build the club up. You'll have to do it over a long period of time. It will not be easy, but to win a Champions League with a side of players that have only came through your youth academy is probably going to be one of the most special achievements you can make in Football Manager. But for save number 4, we get on to what I consider to be one of the hardest, if not the hardest challenge in FM, and that is the Pentagon Challenge. For anyone that's been playing Football Manager for years, you'll have heard about this. It's a bit of a mythical thing that if you can do it, you've done a great job. It is a super long-term save, and the idea is to win all 5 of the major trophies in world football when it comes to club football. We're talking the Champions League in Europe and all of the other equivalents across the world. So you've got your South American one, the Libertadores, you'll be trying to win that, and then your one in Asia, your Asian Champions League equivalent, etc., etc. You get the idea. But the issue with this is you can't just start at Real Madrid. You could if you want to, of course, play FM how you want, but the idea isn't to start at Real Madrid, win the Champions League, and then move to all of the best teams in their own nations, whether that's, Boca Juniors, whatever it might be. No, what you want to do is go ahead and start unemployed. You also have to start off with the lowest attributes possible whilst unemployed, take the first job available to you, and your job then is to work your way up. Do well enough at the clubs you're at that you start getting better jobs. Eventually you might get, a half-decent team in Africa, try and win the Champions League equivalent over there, and then move across. Now, obviously, this all relies a lot on luck and what jobs are available, and as an unemployed manager with no attributes, you're not going to have a big club like Inter Milan or AC Milan come to your door. You're really going to have a CV in other nations, win it in Japan and start making a name for yourself there, maybe move across to South America. It's going to take planning, it's going to be tough, but it is a great reward if you're able to do it. I think the way to do it is always to leave Europe until last and do the other ones earlier, because getting a job in Europe is obviously going to be harder, but it is going to be a long save. You'll need a big database for it as well, but it is a huge commitment, but a huge reward if you can make it happen to become one of the few people out there to complete the Pentagon Challenge. But for our final one, this is probably the most out there of the lot. It's not something that many of you will have tried, but if you're looking for a change, this is the way to go. And that's to head to FMSCOUT, the website, and go and check out some of the databases that people have made. I'll leave a link to this page in the description down below. But from here, you can get access to a world where there's a new MLS team called San Diego FC. You can take over them. There's a Napoleon Empire database. There is a database that gives you the World Super League. So obviously when that almost happened a few years back, you can play that should you want to. There's even downloads like this one, which adds a nation to your game that doesn't exist, and you can go ahead and try and make something of them. So you're kind of learning a whole new world as you go. What else have we got here? There's so many different databases. Red Bull Santa Claus. I don't know what any of these are, to be honest with you. This is all for you to click on and find out. And there's plenty more too, as you can see, plenty of pages. Let's jump halfway through and see what some people have made. I mean, you've got a Balkan Super League, you've got Arsenal with a Tesla takeover. Honestly, if you're looking for a way to keep your Football Manager game fresh, the modding community in FM is one of the best out there, and FMSCOUT hosts a bunch of downloads from this kind of thing to just updated transfers, updated league positions, whatever you want. It's the place to go and try and find something that's going to make you enjoy FM for as long as possible. Get your money's worth. You may as well at this point. We've got to wait a long time until the next Football Manager game, but hopefully here you've got some kind of idea of a save that you can get stuck into. Hopefully you have enjoyed watching. If you have, smash the like button, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.